So with the release of Mandalorian Season 3's third episode finally being out, certain members of this fanbase have finally started to realize the reality of where Star Wars is going, the direction Star Wars is going. Way to catch up with the rest of us. There has been a lot of buzz going around the internet lately that has to do with people's outrage at it finally clicking to them that The Mandalorian is tying itself with the sequel trilogy. And this has a certain portion of the fan base very upset. But before I go any further, I do understand that I do actually have people who are subscribed to me that aren't really that fluent with the Star Wars community and understand like all this inner workings behind the scenes stuff, and they might not understand why this kind of stuff is important. And I'll do my best to try and give you a brief rundown of the overall situation with these people, and I will try my best to be as unbiased as possible, but I will be providing receipts for some of the things I have to say, just so you know I'm not pulling this out of my ass unlike other YouTubers. So for those of you who don't know, ever since the Star Wars sequel trilogy has, well, virtually started and concluded, there has been a portion of the fan base that has been very upset. And subsequently, there's also been plenty of YouTubers that have built their career on feeding the fire of their outrage with these clickbaiting, rage-baiting videos that are rarely, if ever, grounded in any kind of semblance of reality. And mind you, these are the people of the fan base that objectively make the Star Wars fan base just the worst and most toxic place for the fan that wants to enjoy this fan base and the people in it. And I understand what some of you might say, well, if these guys are making videos that aren't grounded in reality and they're almost constantly proven wrong, what's the real harm that they're causing? And what's the harm of these fans that are so outraged by these fictional movies? Well, in a normal world, most adults would just see a movie they don't like and move on. The issue is we're dealing with a sizable portion of people that are so mentally unhealthy and deranged, they think it's necessary to attack, harass, and threaten the directors, actors, and even fellow fans for the horrible crime of creating these movies they didn't like, or simply enjoying these movies that they personally do not like. And to put it into even simpler terms, I'm a part of this fan base, and it's necessary to try and help make the community as positive of a place as humanly possible. And unfortunately, that means sometimes talking about this kind of stuff that seems super serious for something that's a work of fiction. But you have people that take that fiction so seriously, they engage in very dangerous behavior. And time again, it always comes down to the rest of the Star Wars community having to patiently wait while these people catch up. And this community's tried ignoring this behavior before. And I believe because we never nipped this in the butt to begin with, it's sort of like when you don't discipline a disrespectful child and they grow up being even more disrespectful because they've never been corrected on their poor behavior. And when you have so many people that are that dedicated to being just turds, they contribute objectively to the worst part of this fan base that makes it just completely unpleasant for anyone involved that just wants to enjoy this community, enjoy the franchise, and enjoy the people who share this common interest, this common love. But these people can't operate like that. They feel entitled to getting what they want. And with this latest buzz going around the internet, it's almost flaunted casually in the face. Because these people have gone on for so long praising The Mandalorian, praising Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau for all their work. They've had this idea in their head that these people were going to use their work to decanonize the sequel trilogy to make it so that it didn't happen. But recently, apparently with this last episode of The Mandalorian, it's finally dawned on them that that is not happening. And I guess I just have to ask, why is it now that it's dawning on you? You actually have people out there that are making it out like this is just a surprise. It's completely out of left field. And in reality, they've been doing this from the start start? Otherwise, I'm just sort of confused by what did you exactly think they were setting up when they introduced that doctor who's a part of the cloning facility in season 1, when the sequels explain how Palpatine returned is specifically through cloning technology that also created Snoke. Did that just right over your head? Okay, and never mind all the sequel tie-ins, such as the Rogue Jawa, the introduction of Babu Frick's species, and that little girl with Rey's hairstyle. What exactly did you think they were setting up when they show Mando and his group of friends raiding that Imperial facility, and they look over and see that shaded cloning vat with that deformed body in it, and it's playing Snoke's theme? And that's in season 2. Again, did this just right over your head? So be sure to share this video around, because I intend this to be the full wake-up call to these particular fans. Go to every Facebook fan group that you can find, even the ones that you wouldn't normally join because of the toxic environment they provide. Post it around. Let's help them face reality together, because this is what it means to come to terms with reality. These people that you've had so much hope for that they would decanonize the sequels, they're not your friends. They owe you nothing, and they feel no need to give you what you want. Not because they have any malicious feelings towards you like some people would suggest, not because they hate you, but simply because they don't know you even exist. You are less than a ghost to them. It doesn't matter if you've been a fan since Star Wars first featured in the 70s, and you were blessed enough to be one of the first ever to attend. Guess what? That doesn't entitle you to any more privilege to this fan base than a 9-year-old that's seen Star Wars for the very first time and loved it. The only difference, they are deliberately making these shows with them in mind, and not you. And that's a hard thing to come to grips with. The reality, you're not the kid anymore. You're not the focus of attention anymore. You're not the target that these creators are trying to please the most. It's these kids. And if you ask me, if I had to choose between satisfying all the dissatisfied fans out there by decanonizing sequels forever, or keeping them around just to keep these kids happy, I'm going to choose them over you every single time. And guess what? John and Dave clearly feel the exact same way. I would say at this point, once they finally hammered this point home, finally confirmed without a shadow of a doubt that Lucasfilm has tirelessly worked to intertwine shows like The Mandalorian with the sequels to help build context on where the First Order and Snoke came from. And this entire time, you've been dead wrong about the direction Star Wars has been going. This needs to be your reality check. This needs to be where you decide where you are going. This needs to be where you decide who you stand with. Star Wars? Or those who have abused it and you by feeding you misinformation, playing off your anger, feeding you what you have so desperately wanted to hear, fully knowing what they've said to you has no credible evidence for, but told you anyway. Who have also told you their word cannot be trusted.
Knows my name now that didn't know it before. It's a success for me. At the end of the day, I have tried to build Geeks and Gamers by doing it the structured way, the methodical way, the think it out, prep it, take notes, think about everything you're going to say, and it fucking failed miserably on me. The day that I started doing what I'm doing right now, which is what you're having a problem with, is the day that I started becoming successful.
But you still chose to hop on their bandwagon because they played to your delusional wishful thinking, told you what you desperately wanted to hear rather than helping you face reality like an adult. I've said this for a very long time, but once the details are finally fleshed out, if you're still left with this deep burning desire for Star Wars to return to how you think Star Wars used to be, even if you think it will never happen now, maybe consider leaving behind those channels that have played you for a fool from the start. Maybe consider unsubscribing from the channels that have talked such a big game for so long but have produced no real results for you other than more and more disappointment, more and more hatred. What do you have to lose at this point by setting aside the pander channels that only have one message to give you? What do you have to lose by behaving like you want to love Star Wars again. Because these guys, despite their ridiculous claims that they are about fun and feel-good content, have shown little love because their theme is anger. Their theme is hatred. And if there's one thing universally Star Wars has always tried to warn you against, it's those that cheer for your anger, who stand on the sideline and affirm your hatred, are not the good guys, are not the ones to be trusted. And right now you've got people trying to do damage control and save their credibility in some way by blaming who else but the easiest punching bag at Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. And at this point, it's sort of all starting to fall apart for them because there's no consistent logic anymore. They're just saying whatever they can say, hoping it sticks. Granted, a lot of them are buying it all wholesale, but logical consistency be damned, right? Because you've got people saying, well, Jon Favreau's leaving The Mandalorian because Kathleen Kennedy's got too much power and influence on The Mandalorian show, and that's why this is happening. Well, wait a minute, I thought Kathleen was getting fired. Oh no, that's right, she has no power anymore. But wait a minute, if she has no power, how can she have the power to influence the Mandalorian show? Oh, well, it's actually because Jon Favreau is second in command at Lucasfilm now. Oh wait, no, it's that he's leaving Lucasfilm. Except he's going to go and work on the Ahsoka series because he thinks that Kathleen Kennedy won't have the same influential power for the Ahsoka series like she does for the Mandalorian series, even though she's still the head of Lucasfilms, and it's literally her job to provide the talent for these projects that are in the works right now.
Someone's losing fucking ground here.
Or, reality, John's going to work on the Ahsoka series because Dave Filoni's got a handle on the Mandalorian's direction that they've been setting up from the beginning, whether you noticed it or not. And Kathleen Kennedy is doing her job as she has always done from the beginning by helping these people get the talent they need for the stories they want to tell, and they actually have no real animosity towards the woman. Crazy, I know. But what I think is so telling is that these people never catch on to this reality because it's not about reality. It's not about facts. It's not about evidence. It's about feeding that dopamine drive, you know, that satisfying, yes, feed my anger mentality that they've become addicted to. You are never going to be happy with Star Wars again because you choose to listen to people who keep Star Wars in this perpetual state of decline with this vague hope of something better just around the corner. If you just hold on long enough, it might just and it didn't happen for the umpteenth trillionth time again and again and again. That's why you're not going to be happy with Star Wars. That's why you're never going to be pleased, because these people have built an industry on keeping you mad. And they have no intention of letting you go. They have no intention of allowing Star Wars to get better. Not for you. Star Wars will go on doing what it's always done. It's these people that have gotten you to actually believe anything of real significance has actually changed. That's why they'll tell you and constantly remind you and pull up all these vague, random, selectively edited clips of these authority figures that you should listen to that vaguely kind of say the things that you would agree with, right? And push this anxiety-driven fear-mongering that Star Wars has gone woke, Star Wars has gone too far left in its politics, while conveniently overlooking the fact George Lucas was a leftist Democrat who compared the US military to the Empire and compared people of the Republican Party to Darth Vader and the Emperor. It's always been this way. If you've only noticed it now, that's a little embarrassing. If you've only noticed it now, it's because you're hyper-focused on these things way more than usual. Why is that? Could it be these channels that are 100% dedicated to driving that fear into you? If you're only coming to grips with that now, the only person that you have to blame is not Kathleen Kennedy, it's not Dave Filoni, it's not Jon Favreau, it's not even Disney. It's you for allowing yourself to be duped by these people that feed you this false narrative that is verifiably proven false time and time again with as simple as a Google search. You will always have a home in the Star Wars fandom, so long as you act like a fan, which means loving what you love, but also respecting others' views that make them fans even if you disagree with their reasoning. And at least from my side of the fence, you'll always be welcome so long as you can manage that simple act of civility. There is no list of requirements needed to enjoy something or love something, or to be a fan of something. A person's reasoning can be their love for the music alone, one particularly shot scene, the quality of the acting, a specific actor, a specific character, and it's just as valid as anyone with a lifelong list written out in graphic detail. It doesn't mean that effort is a waste for it being equated to someone else's simplistic reasonings for loving something, just that you're passionate for your detailed love. Does that entitle you to specific treatment though? No. Should it? No. And at least here, I will tell you that if it helps you stay grounded in reality. Not because I want to make you mad, not because I think you're stupid, but because countless fans, and those who make these pieces of art have seen the results of those who lose their grip on reality, who believe they should receive special treatment for their dedication, who think they should be placed before others and react dangerously when they don't get their way. It's up to you to decide who you would rather stand with. Someone who likes movies you don't, but will still call you a fan regardless? Or those who require you to like what they like, who require you to hate what they hate, and if you disagree, are mocked for it? It's up to you to choose which path will lead you to your happiness. But if you were to take a single lesson from Star Wars to heart, the obsession with hatred only leads to personal suffering and the suffering of those around you. And it's only when you let go of that hatred that a person can find peace. Think about what that means. Think about what that means to you. It's never too late to make a positive change in your life, but sometimes that means casting aside that which you've grown addicted to.